Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So this is actually an unexpected video. I wasn't expecting to film another haul this month, but this past week Matthew had taken a few days off after the long weekend, and we had kind of like a mini staycation here, and so we took a couple of days and drove around to used bookstores and thrift stores and everything to see what we could find in areas that we don't usually travel to. So that was a lot of fun. We had a blast going to all the stores and digging for treasures, and man oh man did I ever find treasures. I'm so happy. So here we go again with another book haul, and I'm so glad that I found these at such decent prices, because ordering sometimes off of eBay and Etsy can be really pricey, especially with shipping. So I figured out the places to go, the best places to go to get books in my area, and I'm so happy that I did, because we'll be going back there fairly frequently. So two sections to this video. I do have some vintage kind of children's and middle grade series that I'm going to go through first, and then I'm going to leave all of the horror and spooky books for the second part of the video. So I'll have timestamps down below for the split in the video, part 1 and part 2. So if you just wanted to see the spooky and horror books, which I know most of you are interested in mainly that, then you can skip past this first section and go straight to the horror. So jumping right into the children's series and middle grade series, I did find 2 of the books in the Anne of Green Gables series that I was missing from my collection. So we have, this is book 4, Anne of Windy Poplars, and this is number 5, Anne's House of Dreams. So I didn't have either one of these. And what was great is when I do find these, a lot of times they're really creased up and not in great condition. But both of these books look fantastic, and I was so happy to find them. I believe these were $2 each at the thrift store. So super excited that I have these for the collection. You guys know, if you've been here for a while, how much I love the Anne of Green Gables mini series. I grew up on it. I've never ever read the books, so I am collecting the books, and hopefully I can read the entire series from start to finish one of these days. And I also just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not going to be going through the synopses of a lot of these books because there's so many of them. But if there's a little blurb on the front, I'll let you guys know what the blurb says. So along the same lines of Anne of Green Gables, I did find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the Road to Avonlea novelization series. So excited to find these at the thrift store. I got them for $1.50 each, and they're in fantastic condition as well. So if you grew up in Canada or you know of the Anne series, this is kind of a spin-off of the Anne of Green Gables, and it has to do with the residents of Avonlea, and it's based off of L.M. Montgomery's Story Girl books. So I grew up on this series. I just rewatched it earlier this year, and it was so fantastic. So we have number 21, The Ties That Bind. We have 22, Felix and Blackie, and this is a super sad episode. I cried the entire way rewatching this episode. And we have number 23, But When She Was Bad. So this is when Sarah meets another girl who looks exactly like her. They could be doppelgangers, and her name is Jo Pitts, so they switch places, you know, the classic storyline. And she gives all of Avonlea a run for their money, that's for sure. We have number 24, Double Trouble. And we have number 25, A Dark and Stormy Night. And we have Sarah and Felicity on the front here. And I just love the way that they did the covers to these with the kind of embossed lettering. And some of these do have pictures from the episode on the inside. I was so happy to find them, because I am looking for the entire series for my permanent collection, because they're so nostalgic. These stories are so nostalgic for me. So this was a great find. And next up, I found a whole slew of Sweet Valley Kids books. So these were $1.50 at the thrift store as well, and they were all just lined up there right on the shelf, so I grabbed the whole stack. So we have number 4, Choosing Sides. We have number 5, Sneaking Out. Will Elizabeth tell her parents if Jessica sneaks out to the rock concert? Number 9, Against the Rules. Number 27, Teamwork. Can the twins prove that they are not babies anymore? We have April Fool. Is Elizabeth pretending to be Jessica, or is Elizabeth really Elizabeth? So the old switcheroo with the twins. Number 30, Princess Elizabeth. Did Elizabeth break her promise to her new friend? And then continuing on, we have number 32, Jessica on stage. Number 33, Elizabeth's new hero. Can the twins keep their new friend from making a terrible mistake? Number 34, Jessica the rock star. Can Elizabeth keep her twin from putting on a terrible performance? So there's a few of these that have like kind of on stage sort of, you know, dance or singing or whatever. So I bet they're going to be super cheesy good stories. Amy's pen pal. This is number 35. What happens when a friend turns out to be too good to be true? And it says more pages, more fun. So I guess in the later ones they started making them a little bit longer, and this, I was super excited to find this. So this is one of the Super Chillers, Sweet Valley Twins, The Christmas Ghost. So this one is one of the holiday specials that's a little bit longer than the rest in the series. So I thought that was a pretty good Sweet Valley haul to go to the used bookstores or to get them online. These can be quite pricey, so to get them for $1.50 was right up my alley. And then we found one in the Babysitter's Little Sister series. So I only have one other Babysitter's Little Sister. I only just started collecting these. I believe it was Cameron Chaney who sent me my first Babysitter's Little Sister book. And but I did have all of these growing up. I read them voraciously. And then of course when I got a little bit older, I went into the regular Babysitters Club. So this is number 4, Karen's Kitty Cat Club. Karen has a club now too. So these are super short. These are some of the, I believe this was the first chapter book series that I ever read, and I felt so accomplished when I was a kid. So these are super nostalgic as well. So happy to find another one of those. And then 2 out of series that I haven't collected and I haven't ever owned. So this is a new one. This is a Bruce Coville book, but it's not like a spooky book. This is from the Unicorn Chronicles series. This is book 1, Into the Land of the Unicorns. So this obviously is like a fantasy series, and if you've ever heard of this one, let me know. I don't have a whole lot of Bruce Coville in my collection, and I haven't read a whole lot of them either. So this was the first printing from 1994. So this is in fantastic condition, and it's actually an school library book. You can tell it says Bolin grade 6 on the inside, so a teacher must have had this as part of her classroom library. And then we have one out of the Twitches series. So I have seen the Twitches movies, but I've never read the books. So this, what number is this? This is number 2, so I'm still looking for number 1. So obviously on the cover it says Twins, Witches, exactly. So this is called Twitches Building a Mystery. So if you've never seen the movies, I highly recommend them. They're super cheesy. And on the back here it says Bad Boy, Boy Toy. Okay, so this will be my first in the collection of the Twitches, so I'll definitely keep my eye out for more of these. And then next up we have 2 out of the Screech Owls series. So I don't know a whole lot about this series, but it is a cheesy Canadian kind of mystery series, and it's by Roy McGregor. So I have to check to see how many books are in this series, but I have number 11, The Ghost of the Stanley Cup. So these are all kind of, they're spooky mysteries that have hockey wound into it, of course, because it's Canadian and Canadians love hockey. So I believe kind of this hockey team also solves mysteries. So this looks super cute. Got these for super cheap as well. The only unfortunate thing, I'll have to look for another copy of this one because it looks like actually like a puppy had been teething on the book. There's indents in here. So this is actually not a vintage series. This one is from 2008. And then we have number 21, Peril at the World's Biggest Hockey Tournament. And there's no blurb on the front of this one either. Oh, this one is 2008 as well. So I'll have to check in to see how many are in this series. But I love collecting Canadian kind of obscure vintage children's books. I don't know why. I guess I'm just patriotic, but super, super cheesy. And on the cover here, we can see this dude. He looks like the mascot is all tied up in the corner. So these are going to be super fun to get into, and I can't wait to find more of these. And then we have a couple of standalone books. So this first one is The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley Snyder. This is a Newbery Award book, and it's got a super cute cover. And I believe this one is from the 70s. Okay, so originally it was copyrighted for 1967. And this edition is from 1986. So basically it's about two girls that bond over their love of Egypt and Egyptian history, and then, you know, crazy things start happening. So this one is in really good condition as well. There's one crease up the spine, but it looks really, really good. I've never read anything from this author, Zilpha Keatley Snyder. But it does have a list of her other books on here, and they sound really, really good. So we have The Headless Cupid, The Famous Stanley Kidnapping Case, Blair's Nightmare, The Changeling, The Witches of Worm, and The Truth About Stone Hollow. So I'm going to be keeping out an eye for her other books because these sound super, super good. And next up we have The 9 Days Queen by Carleen Bradford. This is a scholastic book, and it's obviously about Queen Jane, the 9 Days Queen from the British monarchy. So this is kind of like a historical fiction, I guess. And so I thought this was really, really cool. It's not in fantastic condition. And this is an ex-school library book as well. And this one is also from 1986, and this looks like it's from 1986 as well. It's a bit dinged up and dented, but it still looks great. Never heard of this before, but I love history. I have a degree in history, so definitely wanted to get this one for the collection, and I think it's going to be fun to read as well. And then the last two standalone books that I have for the non-horror are two that were super, super nostalgic for me. So the first one is Lost in the Barrens by Farley Mowat. So Farley Mowat is a Canadian author, and he writes a lot of survival type stories and indigenous type stories. And Lost in the Barrens, I was gonna say was, but is still one of my favorite movies of all time. This particular edition is from 1987, and it looks really, really good. There's like, it doesn't even look like it's been read. It doesn't even look like it's been opened all the way. And so like I said, I grew up on the movie. I've seen the movie 97 times. I rewatch it every single year, and there's a second part actually. It's called The Curse of the Viking Grave. But I've never read the book, so just to give you a little bit of a synopsis, these two boys, so Jamie, who is white and comes from a very well-to-do family, but his parents were killed in a car accident. He's been at a boarding school for pretty much his entire life. He's now 17, I believe, 16 or 17, and the money to keep him at boarding school has run out. So he has to go live with his uncle out in the Canadian wilderness in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't know this person. He's heard weird stories about this person. He's not looking forward to it. And then there's another boy. In the movie he's called Awasis, but in the book it's Awasin. And he is an indigenous boy who is at a residential school and goes home to the same area that Jamie is going. So Awasin's father and Jamie's uncle are friends, and the boys are supposed to be going out on their first hunt. They get lost in the Canadian wilderness out in the barren lands, and winter is closing in. So it's a survival story, and I love it. If you can find it anywhere, you might be able to get it here on YouTube actually. It's a fantastic story, and I'm super, super happy to finally have a copy of the book, and I will definitely be reading it and doing a comparison to see, you know, how different it is. And then this one, so I'd completely forgotten about this book, and it's something that typically wouldn't be part of my collection, but it was just sheer nostalgia when I saw the cover. So this is Don't Die My Love by Lurleen McDaniel. So I had this book when I was younger. I read it, I don't know how many times, until it was falling apart, and I bawled my eyes out every single time I read it. It's a super, super sad story. So basically it's this boyfriend and girlfriend who've been together a really, really long time, like since they were kids kind of, and he ends up getting cancer. So it's going through like all of the situation with, you know, what it's like to have a friend or boyfriend or whatever that has such a terminal disease, and it's so sad. But I had to have it for the collection, because as soon as I saw it I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot about this book. And it's in fantastic condition as well, so no spine creases. Looks like it might have been in somebody's library for quite a long time. And when did this come out? Probably around 94, I'm thinking. 95. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be actually rereading it because I don't want my guts torn out, but it was super nostalgic and I just had to have it as part of my collection. And the last two books that I have are part of the Private series by Kate Bryan, and not vintage whatsoever. So I think these are the only ones besides the Screech Owls in this haul that are not vintage books. So I read this series, it's a boarding school series, back when they first came out, when they were first publishing them. And I remember really enjoying it. They're not fantastically written, but they have really good mysteries, and they're very fast paced and you're waiting to see what's happening. So I'm not going to read the synopses of these because I don't have book 1 in the series, and there's like full-on spoilers on the back. So I saw these and I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick these up. I'm going to see if I can find any more and then reread them. So these are not part of my permanent collection, but I did want to reread them. So I'm hoping to find more of these out of my travels, and I'll get to rereading them hopefully sometime this year. So that's everything for the non-spooky books. So super excited to have all of those for the collection. So I need to get some of them cleaned up because they still have the goo from the stickers, and get them up on the shelves. And we'll dive into the spooky / horror books next. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into the non-fiction spooky books first, because I found a whole ton of ghost story books and I'm super excited about them. And the majority of the rest of the books that I have are kind of middle grade YA, but I think this is probably the most adult horror that I've hauled in quite some time. So there's a little bit of everything in here. So like I said, starting off with the ghost books, the ghosty books. So we have Ghosts, True Tales of Airy Encounters by Robert C. Bellick. And we have a wonderful picture of a really old graveyard on the front. So these stories are from Victoria, BC. So just the next province over. So super excited to have that. We have one American one. So this is Yellowstone Ghost Stories, Spooky Tales from the World's First National Park by Shelley Larios. Forward by Lee Whitley, Yellowstone Archivist. And so obviously this is right out of Yellowstone National Park. So I was so happy to find this because, I mean, obviously around here it's mostly ghost stories from Alberta, BC, or sometimes the rest of Canada. So I was super, super excited to find one from the States. And no obligation, of course, but if you ever want to send me a ghost story book from where you live, I would so appreciate it. So hit me up on Instagram if you have any secondhand ghost story books from where you live. Sorry guys, my camera shut off there. So next up we have Ghosts 2, More True Ghost Stories from British Columbia. So I'll have to look for volume 1 of this one. So this is ghost stories from all over British Columbia, whereas the other one is just from the Victoria region. So super excited about this. Again, not in great condition, but it was only a couple of bucks, so I was super excited. And then, this is my second book now I'll have in the collection by Peter Ackroyd. So Peter is, of course, Dan Aykroyd's brother. Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters fame, and their whole family is really into the paranormal, and they have several books out. So this is A History of Ghosts, The True Story of Seance, Mediums, Ghosts, and Ghostbusters. And so this is a hardcover, and the other one that I have is a hardcover as well. So I'm definitely on the lookout for more books by Peter Ackroyd, and love when I can find them out in the wild. That's super cool. And then out of the Ghost House series, so I got more out of these ones. So we have more Ghost Stories of Alberta, and I believe I showed you another copy of this out of my last haul, but the inside had a whole bunch of pages that were like folded over. So I picked up this one because it's in fantastic condition. I don't think it was ever read. And so I'm gonna resell my other one, and I'm just gonna keep this one. So happy to find these because they're getting really hard to find. They're not in print anymore, obviously, and online they're going for a fair amount. So this one is one that I don't have. This is Even More Ghost Stories of Alberta. So I believe now I have all 3 in the collection. I'll have to double check, but this is awesome. So Alberta, of course, is the province that I live in. And then we have Campfire Ghost Stories out of that series. So I actually had this one, and I was really stupid, and I either sold it or it ended up being, you know, in an unhaul that I brought to the library or whatever, and I was so bummed because these are, like I said, getting super hard to find, and I wanted it for the collection. So found all of these at the thrift store as well, so they were super cheap, which I was really excited about. And then this one, I've actually never seen this one out of this series. So this is Ghost Stories of Pets and Animals by Darren Zenko. So Barbara Smith and Joanne Christensen are kind of the main authors that contributed to this series, but I have a couple of other ones that are from other authors in this series. There's another one in my collection on Guardian Angels, and then there's this one. So I love the cover on this too. It's super vibrant. It's not really being picked up on the camera, but there's a lot of blues and purples and everything, and I think it looks super, super cool. So I was really excited to get these at the thrift store. It was like way down in South Calgary, and so it was quite a ways away, but I was super, super happy to find them. And then along the same lines, out of the Haunted Canada series, so these this is another Canadian series, Ghost Story series that I collect. So found a couple out of that series that were in really, really great condition. I walked into the used bookstore, and the first shelf I looked at, these were right there. So we have Haunted Canada number 7, Chilling True Tales. We have number 9. Here's number 8. I'm gonna do number 8 first. More Chilling True Tales. And then, like I said, Haunted Canada 9. Scary True Stories. I love the cover on this one, all of the skulls. This might be my favorite cover out of that series. And then we have Haunted Canada 6, More Terrifying True Stories. And all of these editions are by Joel A. Sutherland. So he has collected stories from all over the country and put out these little books. So they're not very long at all. They're just, you know, soft cover. These are not vintage. They are still in print, but I'm trying to find them all at used bookstores so I can save a little bit on them. So I got all of these for $4.50 each. And then the last book that I have in the nonfiction category is actually really cool. So I got this one at another used bookstore. This is the Anne Rice trivia book for devoted fans of her dark fictional world, 1000 Questions to Test Your Unearthly Knowledge by Catherine Ramsland. And the font and everything on the cover really drew me in. So I picked this one up. This one was $4.50 also. So I actually don't have any Anne Rice in the collection right now, which is really weird, but over the years I just ended up getting rid of all of my books I had of hers. So definitely need to rectify that and get me some Anne Rice back on the shelves, and this will be the perfect companion. Okay, so getting into the fiction. So I do have some Christopher Pike. Super excited to find these, and I believe 2 of them I found at the thrift store for next to nothing. So we have The Cold One, and I don't think I know anything about this story. So I would assume it's a vampire story because they're the cold ones. So this is the first printing from December of 1995. There's no blurb on the front here, but I was so super excited to find this because it's not one of his like really well-known ones, and it's not one that I've encountered a whole lot, so that was a really, really great find. The other really great find, this one actually came from the used bookstore for $5, Seasons of Passage. So this is one of his quite well-known ones that I was missing out of my collection. I was super excited to find this. So this is from August of 1993, and it's in fairly good condition. So not a whole lot of creasing on the spine. I usually find, especially if they have like dark covers, that the spines don't hold up well. But this one was in pretty good condition. So that's that one. And then this one I found at the thrift store, like I said, for next to nothing as well. So this is a bind up, an omnibus edition of The Last Vampire, the collector's edition, volume 1. So this is a bind up of the first 3 Last Vampire books. So we have The Last Vampire, The Last Vampire 2, Black Blood, and The Last Vampire 3, Red Dice. And this is a vintage copy. I was so happy to find this. So this is a first printing from 1998. And because somebody asked me this, actually, it does correspond to the Thirst book 1. So his vampire series, The Last Vampire series, was re-released during the vampire craze after Twilight and everything. And so this collection is the same as the Thirst's book 1. And then, of course, you know, it wouldn't be one of my hauls without some point horror. So we do have this one. I got this one off of Etsy. Finally, Trick or Treat by Richie Tankersley Cusick. And it says, trick or treat, candy is dandy, but murder is sweet on the front. And it has a super spooky house. Looks so retro. This looks like an ex-library copy as well. There's a stamp on the front cover there. And this is the first printing from October of 1989. It's okay. It's an okay condition. There's some scratches and stuff on the back, and it is showing some signs of wear and tear. So I'll keep an eye out for a better looking copy. But for right now, I was just really, really excited to have this for the collection. And then this one. I couldn't believe I actually found one of these out in the wild at a thrift store. So you guys know that I actually collected, I believe, 2 or 3 other ones out of this series. So this is Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators. So this is a series from the 60s and 70s, a mystery series. And this is The Secret of the Haunted Mirror by M.V. Carey. And when was this one from? So this one was from 1974. It's in really, really good condition. And I got it for $2 at the thrift store. So this is a super, super rare collectible, and they're going for quite high prices on eBay and places like that. So if you find these out in the wild, definitely grab them for your own collection. And next up, I have one book from the Phantom Valley series. This is The Dark by Lynn Beach, and it has a wonderful, wonderful cover on there. And I got this purely because of the cover. Actually, I don't know anything about this series, but it says, between terror and the unknown lies Phantom Valley. Can Jason escape the evil he's unleashed? So it sounds like Jason has woken up something unearthly. So it has a fantastic skull on the back. So like I said, bought that book purely because of the cover. I don't have anything else in the series, but I definitely want to keep an eye out for the other ones. And then a couple of really well-known ones. So we have one out of the Spooksville series. This is The Cold People by Christopher Pike. I haven't read any of his Spooksville books. I do want to read them. So this is number 5 out of that series. As far as I know, from what I hear, it's more sci-fi, along the sci-fi lines, than it is horror. And of course, it's more geared towards middle grade than YA. So I've been collecting these slowly but surely and building up my collection, but definitely want to get into these sometime soon. And then this one, out of the Goosebumps. This is Goosebumps Most Wanted, Frankenstein's Dog by R.L. Stine. This one was a little bit more expensive than what I thought it would be. It was $4 at the used bookstore. I'm kind of getting used to those thrift store prices now, so I'm getting a little bit picky, but that's still a really good price for these, I think. And This is another one I'm just kind of slowly starting to build up the collection because I didn't read any of the Goosebumps Most Wanted or like Ghosts of Fear Street or anything when I was growing up, because by the time these came out I had moved on to other types of horror. So I'm just kind of building up my vintage collection, and I'll get to these ones eventually too. And then the last one, I think out of the middle grade YA, this is super cheesy. This is The Vampire's Visit by David A. Paulson. And this is another cheesy Canadian book, but it is inscribed on the inside. So this used to belong to Christine, and it says "Best Wishes, David A. Paulson" on the inside. So that's fantastic. I love finding treasures like this. And when is this from? This is from 1996. So super, super cheesy Canadian horror. And I'll just read you the back. It says, "Salt and Pepper are a team. Their vacation together in London takes a turn when they notice every window in the manor is garlanded with garlic except for theirs. But sure enough, a teenage vampire shows up that night asking for their help. When they refuse, their little brother Hal is kidnapped. So begins their involvement in a vampire gang war." So that sounds fantastic. I was so happy to see this. It just looks, I mean, even the cover looks super, super cheesy. So I had to have it for the collection, and I got it for $1.50. So you can't go wrong. And then very quickly getting into some of the adult horror. So we have Something Wicked by Carolyn G. Hart. So this has, looks like a trumpet on the front, and it says "Do not enter." So if you can see, it's kind of hard to see, there you go. But you can see a sinister kind of skull in the background with a candelabra here. And it says, "A deadly theatrical whodunit comes to life." So that sounds fantastic. It sounds like kind of a fast-paced sort of horror mystery. So that sounds good. And then we have a collection. So this is, for the first time in paperback, The Boneyard. So this is a collection of horror stories by a whole slew of different authors and an introduction by Dean Koontz. And this one is in really, really good condition as well, considering its age. The spine is not too badly broken up. And this one is from 1988. Yeah, so fairly old, and it looks fantastic. I love the cover on this one. Another one that I love the cover on, usually if there's a skull on the cover, I'm gonna love it. This is The Unholy by Michael Faulkner Anderson. So never heard of this author before. Unfortunately, there's a hole punch through the front cover here. And this is a first printing from April of 1988. "The greatest evil of a century did not die. It awakens to kill again." So that sounds fantastic. And then we have Harrogate by Daniel H. Gower, author of The Orpheus Process. So I've never heard of this author before, but it has a fantastic cover on it. And this one is from, oh, and this one is inscribed as well. Looks like it was a gift. It says, "Bonnie, it's been great working with you. Have a great holiday, from Laura, December of 1993. I believe this is from 93. Yeah. It's a first printing, so it was brand new from December of 1993 when this was gifted. So that, I love how books like that have history kind of wound into them. So that's fantastic. We have Kane's Touch by Saul Wernick. And this has the wonderful blue sprayed edges that so many wonderful vintage books have. And this one is really old, November 78. So, not in fantastic condition. It has some wear on the spine, but this is, we're getting into kind of fairly old territory there when it comes to books. And then we have one John Saul. I do have a bunch of John Saul in my collection. I've never read him though, and the books that I have are not in fantastic condition, and really neither is this one, but it was super cheap. And this is one that I've heard of before, Suffer the Children. And it says, "Innocence dies so easily, evil lives again and again and again." So, and it has a fantastic vintage cover as well. So I picked up this one. It was super cheap, and I'll throw it in with the John Saul collection. Next to last, we have The Ghosts by Antonia Barber. Lucy and her brother were about to cross the spectral barrier into a strange supernatural mystery. And this was in really, really good condition. Haven't heard of this one before, but this is from August of 1975. There we go. It has a fantastic vintage cover on it. I love the cover on this book, and it has kind of like a purple background to it, and it was in really, really great condition. No spine creases. It is showing a bit of wear, but it is from the 70s. So this, I was really excited to get this, and it looks super, super spooky. So I bet this one is going to be a good one. And then last but not least is my very first V.C. Andrews. So V.C. Andrews is pretty easy to find out and about. This one is from April of 1983. But what I find is that most of the V.C. Andrews that I find at used bookstores or thrift stores, they're really, really in bad condition, and the spines are awful. But this one was sticking out at me. So this is my Sweet Audrina. I've never read any V.C. Andrews, so this is going to be my very first in a collection of her. So I think, considering its age, it's in pretty good condition as well. So there you guys go. That's all the treasures that I found this week, and I'm super excited because now I know kind of where to go to actually find really, really great deals on books for my permanent collection. So I'm going to be heading up those stores over the next couple of months, and we'll see what other treasures we can find. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But having said that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, leave me a question or comment down below, because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.